Avid Readers. I am Kristen Krumm. I'm one of the admins here at Avid Readers of Christian Fiction. And tonight, since Trisha is traveling, I am guest hosting this episode with my friend and podcast co-host, Hendryx. When we aren't writing YA fiction or the many other things that we write, we co-host Exploring the Blank Page podcast for readers and writers of young adult fiction, as well as our second podcast, The Margins, which is a podcast where we talk about writing craft, story creation, and the business of being an author.
Hi, I'm Emilie. I write under several different names. My young adult fiction is under E.A. Hendryx. And then I also write a romantic suspense and cozy mystery and sweet romance under different pen names. My most recent release is Suspended in the Stars, which is a young adult science fantasy. It's a lot of fun. And the second book, oh yeah, she's got it right there. The second book, Falling Through the Black, is coming to Kickstarter starting April 5th. So that's really exciting. It's a lot of adventure and fun and sweet romance. Oh,
Yes.
and I'd love to introduce our guest, CJ. Sorry. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and your books.
Sure. So I am CJ Milacci, and I write stories for teens and young adults with heart-pounding action and hope, is how I like to say it. So I am the award-winning author of the Talionis series. Book one is Recruit of Talionis, which here. And then book two is Fugitive of Talionis. And book three will have a Kickstarter coming out later this spring. And I also have another book coming out this spring called Abandoned Shores, which is like a side story for the Talionis series. So I'm excited to be here with you guys.
Hi, we are excited to have you. We always love talking with you. So kicking off really quick with telling us a little bit about the Talionis series. It is a dystopian, it's set in a dystopian world. And dystopian is one of my favorite genres. So, how did you decide to write in the dystopian genre, especially when so many of the industry professionals have said that that is a dead genre?
Well, I guess part of it is that I'm not really good at listening to people that tell me not to do something. I suppose that's part of it. That's probably a character flaw, but I think sometimes it has a benefit. But I also love dystopian, and I just talk to a lot of non-industry experts who also love dystopian and couldn't get enough of it. And so I was sort of like, okay, well, why not? Why not go down this road with this genre? And when I had originally really started to go down this path of being an author, it wasn't dead yet. So I think I had this idea for a dystopian story and I could never get it out of my head. It was something I really felt like God had put on my heart to do. And so it just stayed there, and it was a seed of an idea that grew into what is now Recruit of Talionis. And since writing this book and releasing it, and I had a successful Kickstarter for that book, and I've had readers who've told me they loved it. And I've also talked to an industry expert who told me the professionals lied, that dystopian is not dead. They just were sick of it. And so, and this is somebody that I trust his opinion on the market.
Mhm.
And so I do think it's true. And I've gotten a lot of readers who really enjoy that that dystopian feel. And I think it's such a dark backdrop, and our world can feel just as dark sometimes. And I wanted to show, what does hope look like when the world really feels like it's completely shattered and falling apart. And there's really not a better place to do that than in dystopian fiction. So
Mhm.
I couldn't get it out of my head, and really enjoyed writing in that genre personally.
Well, and I do think I've heard you talk about this as well, but you have talked with teen readers too, right? And they're the
Yeah.
ones who are saying, we want this, we love this. I know, Kristen, you've had this similar experience, and I think we have to
Yeah.
listen to that.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I love talking to teens and young adults and hearing what they wanna read and what they wanna hear. And one of the other things I've heard from them is that they love the dystopian genre, and they also really, I have faith elements in my books, and a lot of people say that teens don't want that, and I get emails from teens telling me they do. They're thrilled to have that in their stories. So maybe it's not everyone, but there are those kids and those young adults who are really hungry for these kinds of books, these dystopian adventures. So it's I think it's important to listen to, like you said, those readers that we wanna reach, right? Not just the quote unquote industry. professionals.
Mhm.
I listen to them on other things. I'm not saying I don't listen to any industry advice.
No, of course. So we know that you have the first 2 books out. Your cover designer is working on the 3rd book cover. That would be me. But we also know that in your spare time, because you're not busy, you wrote another book, and that is coming out, Abandoned Shores. Do you have a release date for that? I forget.
Yes, April
Okay.
25th.
Oh, so
Awesome.
soon.
Great. Oh, the day before my Kickstarter ends. Very exciting.
Yay.
We'll celebrate. So I'm curious though, what went into your thought process in releasing Abandoned Shores, kind of between, like in the midst, the sandwich of the first 2 books of the series and the last 2 books of the series, and then why you decided to release it outside of Kickstarter and what that means for readers who are interested in like jumping into your series. Where does that fit and when should they read it?
Yes. Well, Abandoned Shores is this thing that grew to be something that I never thought it was gonna be. It's based on a character in book 2 whose her name is Katori, and this is her history. This is her backstory, who she was years before you meet her in Fugitive of Talionis. And this character is one I created with one of my Kickstarter backers. I have some levels where backers can create a character with me, and I had someone back at the highest level and in my first campaign, which meant she got to create a big character for book 2, and part of that was going to be a short story about her background. Well, I don't write short. My books are long, and I thought, okay, a short story, this is fine. I'm going to write the short story. It's going to be good. I liked the idea, so I started writing it, and as I wrote it, the story kept evolving and growing, and so then I was like, "Okay, it's a novella," and so I kept writing it. It's not a novella, it is a novel. It's a full-on 300-page book, so I it just kept becoming more than I had expected, and so I even when I launched and finished my campaign for Fugitive, I thought, "Oh, Abandoned Shores is still a novella," but then it wasn't finished, and by the time I was done with edits and everything and finished fleshing this whole thing out, it was a full-on book, and at that point, I had already told people they could, pre-order copies through my last Kickstarter. It wasn't part of the Kickstarter, it was like an add-on. So then I was like, "Well, oh well, we're just gonna go with it," and so it's sort of it really just has taken on a life of its own, and it it's been a lot of fun. I really loved digging into her story, but I didn't expect it to be a full book, and now it's kind of nice though, because if you're not sure if you really wanna try my whole series, because it's dystopian and it's gonna be 4 books long, and we're only on book 3 and, don't know if you wanna commit to that, Abandoned Shores is a nice kind of segue into it because it's a standalone novel. It's not gonna leave you with that cliffhanger that my books do leave you with, fair warning, and yet it also will give you a taste of my writing, a taste of the story world because it's touching on a different aspect of my story world, so it's a kind of a cool entrance into the series, and then for, like, my readers who read way faster than I knew was humanly possible, and they keep begging for the next book. This is kind of a way to be like, "Okay, it's coming, but here's, like, a little something in between," and so
Mhm.
it ended up just fitting in the middle. I did not plan that, but I also did not plan for this to be a novel, so it's just kind of has grown to be what it is now. If I had known it was gonna be a novel, it probably would have been on Kickstarter, but since it was a short story to begin with, it just kind of came this way, but I'm excited. I'm excited to be able to have that for my readers too, just that are excited to hear more about her and dive deeper into the world and everything. So I've heard some
Mhm.
great feedback from early readers, and that's been fun as well. So, I'm hoping that everyone will enjoy it. But either way, I loved the story, and it was fun for me to watch it grow into something I did not
Yeah,
expect.
that's awesome.
I am excited for it. I can't wait. I'm so excited that like April 25th. Well, that's in 1 month. It's like right
Yes.
around the corner. So one thing that I wanted to ask you, you keep mentioning that you kickstarted the first one, and I know Emily said that she kickstarted Suspended in the Stars. Can you explain a little bit like what Kickstarter is and as a reader, how it benefits you to back a Kickstarter, like what that means, what do you get, and all that good stuff?
Yes. Emily and I love geeking out about Kickstarter. Kristen and we've all done this so many times, but I love it. I think one of the ways I like to describe Kickstarter for a reader, it's like someone gives you that pass to an epic premiere of a new movie, and so you get to see it before everyone else. You get all these fun perks and extras,
Mhm.
and so when you get a Kickstarter book, it's a little more expensive, but we were just talking Emily and I were just talking about this not that long ago, and it's like, but you also get all this other fun stuff too, and you get
Mhm.
bookmarks and stickers and swag, and it's
And you
kind
get
of
it
just
early.
yes, you get it early, so it's kind of a way to just get a sneak peek into it. Like I mentioned, Katori is a character that I created with a backer, so that's
Mhm.
something as well. I have Kickstarter backers who've named characters. I have a couple who have created characters with me who pop up in my books. It's a way to get involved in the story in a deeper way than just buying it on Amazon or Barnes& and Noble allows you to, and it's sort of just that backstage pass to experience what it is to watch a book come to life in a different way. You get backer updates and you just get to watch it unfold in a unique from a unique perspective, I think. I don't know,
Mhm.
Emily, if you have anything you'd wanna add to
Oh,
that.
yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think, one of the things that I'm trying to emphasize as well with this second Kickstarter is just the fact that it is people partnering with me, so it's readers partnering with me, so it can be a very solitary life as a writer, even though we have great friends and you're still doing the work by yourself, though, and so this chance to take a book to Kickstarter and say, "Hey, do you wanna help me? You wanna partner with me to produce this product?" Like, better than I could do it if I was just to place it up on Amazon or any kind of retail site, like, let's do that together, is, like, unmatched. I mean, that's just you can't do that, and that's why I back so many Kickstarters myself is because I wanna be a part of it, and it's so much fun, so, yeah, I
Yes.
think it's an experience, really.
Definitely,
Yeah.
and there should be a reader warning though, because once you start, it's really hard to stop, and then
Yep.
I'm always, like, finding new
Yeah.
ones, and my
Yeah.
friends are doing them, and it's so fun, and so once you get the Kickstarter bug and you experience opening a book from Kickstarter that's signed and has all this swag and is so
Mhm.
pretty, it's really hard to go back. So, fair warning, if
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
gonna dive down that rabbit hole, it is deep.
Oh, yeah, yeah, and I will say I haven't as an author, I haven't done a Kickstarter, but I've backed both of your Kickstarters, and they both are, like, super fun. You guys make them really fun, and the swag and everything, it's just it's awesome. So, yeah.
Yay.
So switching a little bit, I wanted to ask, as authors, we're always in there are always books that we read and grow up with that inspire us and influence us as writers. So what are some of the Christian fiction books that inspired you while you were writing the Talionis series?
That is such a great question, and I think I kind of have to say that I started writing the Taliona series because at the time, I really couldn't find Christian fiction for teens that really focused on that teenager protagonist, and so that's why I started writing actually, because I talked to all these teen girls in, like, the youth ministry I was involved in at the time, and they just were reading all these hopeless books, and so I really wanted to provide an alternative for them, and that was why I started writing. So it there wasn't necessarily a Christian fiction book at that time that I found. I think I was a little blind to it. I tried searching, but I just couldn't find anything. But since then, there's been a wonderful barrage of fantastic Christian books for teens and young adults. But I think since after the writing started, I think one of the series that I really loved was Nadine Brandis's Out of Time series, and that
Yes.
was another dystopian series that she has very clear Christian elements in her books, and
Mhm.
I loved that, and I thought she handled it beautifully because
Mhm.
teenagers need you to handle that with care. I mean, every reader does, right? We don't wanna be bashed over the head with a message necessarily that's just on top of the story. We want it woven into the story, and I felt like Nadine did that really well, and I really took a lot from that for myself and wanting to weave in the messages I had in my story so that they were organic to the story and to the characters so that it didn't take you out of it, but allowed you to kind of go deeper with the character into those themes.
Mhm. An
Yes, that's
excellent
great.
series.
It is.
So
All of
It
her
good.
is
books have
good.
been
It is.
amazing.
Yes.
I'll put in a little plug here. I was able to endorse for her newest book, The Nightmare Virus. I also did the cover, so that was
Yay.
exciting. But it is so good. And yet again, a great example of just Light in the Darkness.
So
I
good.
don't
Yeah.
I won't give too much away, but I think it will be really impactful for teens of pretty much any age, maybe a little bit older, maybe like 13 plus. Not that there's anything bad in it. It's just more of like those thematic elements are a little heavier, but she handles it with such care. And then also I think it'll be great for like teen boys as well.
Yes.
Mhm.
Which I mean, she's a woman, but she writes it so well, and it's just like really fantastic. I think that it will reach into that audience really nicely.
Yes.
Yes.
Which this is a full circle moment for me too, because I was able to read and
Oh,
endorse her book
nice.
too. And so speaking of her inspiring me with her first series and now getting to read this
Oh,
one,
I love it.
totally
Yeah.
agree with that endorsement
Yes.
on
Yes. High
an
five.
upcoming story. So
Virtual high
good.
five.
Yes.
So let's just keep this going. One thing that I absolutely love about the avid readers of Christian fiction group is all the amazing recommendation that everyone gives all the time. Like at any point of the day, you can jump on to the Facebook group and be like, I need a book about this. And I mean, you will have so many recommendations. So let's just keep it going. What are some other Christian YA books that maybe are some of our favorites over the years?
Mhm. I've got a whole stack around me here.
Yes. Show
Well,
Okay.
them
okay.
off.
I brought it up anyways because I think it is really hard to find good books for teen boys, especially.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to put in a little like, I don't know, promo, which I mean, for no reason, I'm not getting paid for this.
This is
For
not
Wolf
sponsored.
Soldier, yeah, not sponsored. Bear Knight, and then the latest Lion Warrior. These are by James R. Hannibal. Really, really great. There's so much in this. I mean, he has like a board game that goes along with it.
Mhm.
There's like so much where I think a teen could get lost in this, especially if they like any kind of like maybe like those role playing games that are really popular, things like that. This is a great Christian alternative for that. So little
And
plug
fun.
there.
James is actually going to be on the podcast in a few
Oh,
weeks.
cool.
So,
Cool.
yeah. So, you
Oh.
guys
He's
will
great.
have to
He's awesome.
mark your calendars for that one. So, that one's really exciting. Um, let's see. I had a whole stack and then I used half of my stack to prop up my mic. So, that's happening. I am going to plug um Mary Weber's
The storm
Oh,
siren.
Storm
I think
Siren. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a Storm Siren. Anyway, this is the second book because I loaned out my first book like eons ago and I never got it back. So I'm down the first book, which I remember reading the first book and getting to the end, the cliffhanger, and my mouth, like my jaw just dropping. And then it was just like, what do you mean I have to
What?
wait for the second book in the series? So happy news. If you pick up the series, you don't have to be
It's
like me and
complete.
have to wait for the second series or the second book or the third book. It is completely complete. But this one was an amazing series. Mary is an excellent writer. So I
Mhm.
like all of her stuff.
All right,
Yes.
CJ, you're up next.
All right. So I have book 2, but I think Emily has book 1.
Mhm.
This is book 2, which just came out by Candace Cade. The first one is enhanced and yes, so this is
Mhm.
hybrid. And you made the covers
Nice.
for these too, right,
No, this
Oh,
was
no.
Kirk.
I'm
Mhm.
sorry.
Oh,
Never
Oh, it's
mind.
okay. Yeah.
False
They're
endorsement.
excellent. Yeah.
But they're
No,
beautiful.
he does great work.
And this is I think if we're kind of on a kick of books that boys might enjoy, I think
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
boys would actually really like the tech elements. Candace does a
Mhm.
really great job of building the world in that series, and
Mhm.
you her just descriptions and her technology and the world she's created is fascinating, and it's set in like like a China futuristic
Mhm.
China kind of
Mhm.
world, which I thought was really cool. It was very different than any other book I'd read recently. So I love her books. I love Candace.
Mhm.
Yes, she's great. She really is.
Oh, and
And she was on
another
the
one
she was
oh,
on
she
the
was on the
podcast
podcast.
like 2 weeks ago. So,
Oh,
Yeah,
yay.
she's
if
great.
you if you missed that episode, you can go back and listen.
All right, now we can both hold up our same copies.
Yes.
We're gonna
My
recommend
pretend
The
copy.
Mermaid's Tale, yes.
Yes.
It's on my shelf.
Yeah, and I was telling them before we started, I just saw the cover for book 2 because I do graphics for Enclave, and it's lovely, so I'm really excited. This was such a fun it was such a fun one. I have not finished it, but I've started it and I really enjoyed it. I think CJ, you finished it?
I did. Yes, I listened to the audiobook for this one and
Oh,
I loved it. And it was if you like fairy tale retellings specifically, this one's really well done. It's got that Little Mermaid vibe, but it's
mm,
different. There's definitely a twist to it, but you get all the same feels that
Mhm.
you want with a fairy tale retelling. I thought Laura did a really excellent job with that book.
This is the one where she's the mermaid with legs, right?
Yes, she's like the
Yes.
great
Yes, okay.
granddaughter of the Little Mermaid.
Mhm.
Right.
Such a
Perfect.
such a fun
Okay.
twist. I
It
loved
is.
that.
It really is a fun
Yes.
twist. Another one that I want to recommend is
Oh,
Carolyn
yes. I
George's.
just finished that the other
Oh
day.
my gosh, she is
So good.
such a beautiful writer. Like if
Atmospheric,
yes,
beautiful.
yes. It's like
Mhm.
if you're like one of those people like to highlight the pretty passages, like the whole thing would be highlighted. So
Mhm.
um but yes, this is her newest one. Her summer
Dearest
one.
Josephine was her first
Yes.
one, I
The first
think, and
one.
then The
I
Summer
can't
We Forgot.
Summer We Forgot, which
Yeah.
I also loved it. My teen daughter actually stole it and she's in the middle of it and she's just like, "I love this book, mom."
Yeah.
So, um
I think Dearest Josephine is my favorite. I love all of them, but, like,
yes.
oh, if you got a little dual time, oh, yeah. I
Yes,
love something
yes.
that, like, interacts with, like, current time, so it
Mhm.
feels fantasy-esque, but yet you
Yeah,
also have that grounding in current day, and she just does a really good job with it.
she does.
Yes.
She really, really
Mhm.
does.
I
I
have
don't
so
have
many
this
others.
this book out, but Emily, you might, but The
Mhm.
Eternity Gate by Catherine
Oh,
Briggs,
yes.
Look
I
at
loved that was one of my favorite
this.
reads in 2023, and the
Mhm.
second book is coming out later this
Mhm.
year,
The
and
Immortal
it's
Abyss.
yes, and but I love her writing and it's a great fantasy story, really fun world and everything, but I
Mhm.
enjoyed that book immensely.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll I'll put in a plug for a
Yeah.
dystopian. This
Ooh,
one,
oh,
oh gosh, it's
yes.
this one is by Jill Williamson. This is
Oh.
Thirst, and then the second one is Hunger.
Hunger?
It's a
Oh.
duology, yeah. And so, actually, funny little inside fact. Maybe she doesn't want me to tell people this. I don't know. We're working on some rebranding of another, like other books that are in this series. They're not new releases, but they're already out. We're
Oh,
going to
fun.
redo the covers. So I think this would be awesome, especially for, like, any kind of like we're saying, teen boys again.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to like, I think there's plenty out there for teen girls, and as a girl myself when I was younger, I didn't care who the protagonist was. I was gonna
Mhm.
read it and enjoy it.
Yes.
But I
Yeah.
think boys are maybe a little maybe not more, like, sensitive in a negative way, but just, like, they wanna see more of themselves in a story
Yeah.
or want something a little different than a girl does. So,
Yeah,
that would be a good one too.
yeah.
I'm trying to find the cover because it's not out yet, but I am so excited for it. I just want to see the oh, anyway. It is this one.
Oh,
Oh,
Chaos
yes.
yes.
Grid.
Hey, Asgrid.
Yes. It looks I mean, I don't really know a whole lot about. I was told that it was dystopian and that was all that I needed to know. And then I saw the cover and I was like, I just need that. So
Yeah.
um yes, why dystopian? I mean, that's all you really have to tell me and I'll read it.
Mhm. It's like they're set in it's like they're in Texas in, like, biodomes. I haven't
Hmm.
read it, but I've read the back
Okay.
cover copy.
Okay.
And so, like but there's, like, a train aspect to it and, like, some travel and, like, quirky characters. It
Yeah.
sounds really, really cool. Like,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think she said it was, like, Mad Max meets something, but obviously
Yeah.
in a Christian vein, so
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. No, that sounds right. That sounds right. Yeah.
Yep,
I'm really looking forward to that one. Really excited for
there's the
that one.
cat.
I'm really excited for the rest of CJ's series. I'm
Oh,
excited for Abandoned Shores. I'm excited for Falling Through the Black, which is the second book to
yay.
got them Suspended in the Stars.
Yes.
Um,
Show your book because 'cause you've
Yes.
got it there.
oh, it's not dystopian.
Yay, it
I know,
happened
It's
I know.
okay.
But
but
I'm talking this big talk about how much I love dystopian, and I wrote a rom com.
that's okay, we need
So
rom-coms too.
yeah, so yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. So anyway,
Mhm.
but yeah, gosh, this has been so much fun.
Yes,
Yes. So
yes.
fun.
So, CJ, why don't you leave us with, something a message that you would love for your readers to take away with them when they come into your series? Because I think that that's something we've talked about before, and I just think it's, like, really powerful. Might be a good way to
Yes.
end it.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Well, I really believe stories can be incredibly powerful ways to speak truth and point to really important truth in life. And one of the things that I wanted with my stories was to give I think of teen girls specifically, but boys like the book too because there's guns. So soldiers and guns, they like that. But one of the things I want my readers to be able to escape into a world, especially those who have difficult things going on in their life, and while they're there, discover like hope that can pierce the darkest of places and touch your heart. And I want that to be something they can walk back into their life with them, so that when they close the pages of their book, that's something that resonates long after the story ends. And that's something that I really want in every one of my books, is the truth that hope is stronger than the hardest
Mhm.
things in our life. Then it can true hope can pierce the darkest moments we face. And so that's something I'm really passionate about. And I think I mentioned that before. Dystopian can be really dark. And I have readers who said they would never read dystopian, but they've read it and they did like my book because there's that element of hope. Because I don't ever want to leave my readers feeling more depressed and dark and
Mhm.
lonely than they did before they entered the book. I want them to leave knowing that there can be hope even in that darkest place that they find themselves in. So, yeah, that's really my heart behind my stories, behind what I do and why I do it.
Oh, that's beautiful. Can you tell people where they can find you online and where they can get copies of your book?
Sure. So my books should be available wherever books are sold, anywhere online. And if you want book 3, it's going to come through Kickstarter early, so you can connect on Kickstarter. You can type in "Enemy of Talionis" and you can find that and follow the campaign. And then once it goes live, you'll get notified about that. But then the best way to connect with me is through my newsletter. So you can sign up on cjmilacci.com, and it is just the place where I give all of my updates. My Instagram is at CJ Milacci. It's woefully I just announced that Abandoned Shores is coming out, but my newsletter has known for a long time. So if you really want to stay up to date, come be on the newsletter. But we have a lot of fun. And I also have a podcast called Read Clean YA with CJ. And so that is something that comes out every 2 weeks. And I just highlight different authors and their books.
So fun. And we'll have all of those on the show notes on the YouTube video and on the podcast. So thank you so much, CJ, for being with us here tonight. And thank you to all the listeners. Trisha will be back next week with guest Bethany Turner. I know that it is going to be a conversation that you don't want to miss. So I hope to see you there. But until then, happy reading.